If decentering men is just something that us angry cat ladies do, then you tell me, why is everyone panicking? What is up, people? A very warm welcome back or to another video. So a quick disclaimer before we move on, because there are a lot of sensitive souls out there. Decentering men does not necessarily equate to man hating. I do understand a lot of people are going to translate it as that. Now, if you are a man and you're going to be offended, then just simply click off this video. I'm not going to come and save you. And there are a lot of people who don't give a fuck. Let's go over what it actually means to decenter men. When you're decentering men, you're simply no longer living for their approval, for their gaze. You're not doing anything in your behavior which is for them. So you're not making getting a man your ultimate goal. You're not making marriage your ultimate goal. Women who have decentered men are simply living for themselves. They're putting their own needs first. They're focusing on their own goals and aspirations in life, and everything else is kind of coming second. Now, if you're like me and you're a millennial, possibly even a Gen X, you would have been raised by women who centered men a little bit too much. So a lot of us millennials, possibly even like the elder Gen Zs as well, you possibly grew up with a mum who centered men. So either she put your father on a pedestal, your brothers on pedestals. Just look at the way she treated the men in her life, and that is what it looked like to center men. So everything that those women did was for male approval, for the male gaze. They used to dress for men, they used to put their makeup on for men. Everything they did in life was literally for men, and they likely probably treated women a lot harsher, or probably hated them or were bitchy towards them. Society and religion have done a fine ass fucking job of ensuring that men have stayed the center of the universe. And a lot of the time, the men who actually get upset by videos like this, or women talking about how they no longer center men and how they're focusing on themselves and their careers and their studies, are the exact men who think that just having a dick alone and bringing that dick to the table is enough to just succeed in life in general. Maybe once upon a time, that literally was enough for them. All they needed to do was literally bring their dick to the table, and that was more than enough for them to succeed in life. However, the tides are turning and not really in their favor. So now they're having to learn what it actually feels like to be a woman and actually work a little bit harder and grovel for the basics. Now, the only men who get upset by this are the exact men who rely on the female gaze for approval. So actually, if you think about it, the original pick-me's are actually men. If decentering men is just something that us angry cat ladies do, then you tell me, why is everyone panicking? If you look at it, panic makes people do and say the most asinine things. If you look online across any social media platforms, anytime a man is crashing out and panicking, he is saying the most stupid, foolish, disgusting things. And notice how there's a lot of projection in their comments. When I go through my troll comments, they are always the same, and it is always projection. They talk about being lonely for the rest of my life, dying alone, and being a genetic dead end. These are all things that men panic about, not women. When women want kids, it's because they want to nurture, because we're apparently designed to nurture, right? We have this maternal instinct. So when women have children, it's because of this biological urge to nurture. When men have children and have the urge, it's not to nurture, it's to spread their gene. It's to keep their DNA going and their so-called legacy, as they like to call it. So actually, when it comes to procreation, women and men have different motivations. Therefore, women and men will have different fears about said procreation. As a female, I don't give a flying fuck about my genetics. But whenever I talk to men, it's always, I want to continue my family line. I want to continue my legacy, which is why one of the most common troll comments that I actually get is always something to do with genetics or the gene pool. Men are in fact the ones who fear their genetics dying out. I've had a lot of horrible things said to me in my life from both male and females when it comes to being child-free. But one thing a woman has never said to me is they have never said to me, oh, you're a genetic dead end. So women are seen as the kind of glue in society where we hold everything together with our free emotional labor, and people constantly seeking us out to fix problems, to fix people. Anytime something goes wrong, it's always, let's seek out a woman to kind of fix this issue for us. And because so many women now are opting out of these traditional roles and no longer offering their free emotional and physical labor, and centering men, this is what is actually causing men to fucking crash out. And just in the comments that I'm going to go over shortly, you're going to see for yourself just exactly what that crash out looks like and why decentering men is the ultimate power move. When you spend your whole life trying with all your might and still can't find a Chad who will commit, a shocking amount of cursing, coping, venting that made my ears ache. So first and foremost, this person has just proved that he needs somebody to commit to him because his biggest fear is not finding a Karen who would commit to him. I think what's the funniest about all of this is when you hear men say like, oh, it's because you can't find a man. What you guys don't realize is A, you're not the prize, and B, even if we wanted you, you're actually quite easy to get. Because like I said, you're the original pick-me's. Please continue the 4B movement, please. What a great solution to control the number of ugly children. Please continue 4B. This comment specifically made me laugh out loud because he's literally just spoken about and proved his point that we were talking about genetics earlier on in the video, about how men are so worried about their gene pool dying out. They're worried about their DNA not being spread. There are no women out here that I've ever heard calling children ugly. You tell me how many women you know, even the ones who don't want kids, are not going around calling children ugly. Men are, because men are worried about having ugly children because it's a reflection of them and their subpar genetics. My all-time favorite is from Lee Nottingham. He said to me, so you will all remove yourselves from the gene pool. Bonus. The funny thing about men like Lee Nottingham is that they likely don't have a wife and family themselves. I find this a lot with single men, especially of a certain age, is that they won't have a wife and kids, or they'll be divorced and estranged from their kids, yet they will try to control other people's lives and narratives. They'll try and say things like removing yourself from the gene pool as if that's a fucking insult to me. Because what Lee's biggest fear is himself being removed from the gene pool because he's worried that he's probably gonna die alone and that everybody's gonna forget his exact existence, which is exactly what's gonna happen, Lee, is that everyone is gonna forget your fucking existence. Because guess what? You're nothing fucking special. Next time somebody insults you, I don't want you to take it personally. I want you to hear the fear behind their insults, because anytime a person is throwing any kind of shade or insults at you, that person is simply projecting their fears onto you. This is why comments like "you're a genetic dead end" will never affect me, because I don't give a flying fuck about my genetics. I have never given a fuck about my genetics dying out. It's something that has never ever bothered me, just like it has never bothered me when people have said to me when I was younger, oh, you're going to end up single, you're going to end up dying alone, you're going to end up a lonely cat lady. These things have genuinely never bothered me. People who live their life in fear and let fear make the decisions usually made bad decisions. So be that with people or with marriage or with jobs. If you let fear lead the way, you're going to make poor decisions. If you've joined this far, thank you so much for joining. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give this video a massive thumbs up. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Peace out.